Hey guys, what's up? Today I'll be ranking the entire JRPG library on the GameCube, at least the ones that got a North American release. But out of respect, I won't be ranking the Pokemon games, even though I did play some of them on the GameCube. I don't like Pokemon, I don't play Pokemon, so sorry, out of respect. I don't want to give them an unfair rating or ranking or something like that, so out of respect, no Pokemon games. But all the others are here. We got 20 RPGs to cover, so let's begin. The first game on the list is Amazing Island. This is a game that no one knows about and no one cares about because it's such a mediocre game. It didn't stand out, not a lot of promotion was done, advertisement was completely non-existent, and to be honest, it didn't really need the advertisement because it just doesn't stand out. The problem with this game is precisely that it does everything. Well, speaking about Pokemon, it's a little bit like Pokemon. I mean, you train monsters and all that jazz, but the entire game takes place in this island, an amazing island, and it's just, let's just say, the concept was cool because it involved several gameplay mechanics, several mini-games, several things to do with your monsters, not just train them and have them fight. So it gives a wide variety of gameplay mechanics, but they're all kind of mediocrely executed. Like, you're watching this gameplay right now and you're probably thinking it looks like fun, but trust me, it gets old really quickly. I guess if you're really into monster training games or Pokemon-like games, you'll probably enjoy this game because I think it's sort of like a hidden gem, but it's very niche. It's more specified as a mediocre Pokemon clone than anything else. But yeah, it's an okay game, I guess, so I don't want to be unfair with it. I don't think it's a bad game. Let's just put it on the C tier. Yeah. Baten Kaitos, Eternal Wings and the Lost Ocean is probably one of the best RPGs on the GameCube. It's such an underrated game. Didn't get a lot of love from Nintendo. They practically killed the franchise. There's a long story about these two games. There's another one called Baten Kaitos Origins. We'll get to that one later. And the first one is almost a masterpiece. To me, it's an amazing game. Great story, one of the best stories ever written in an RPG, and it's a little bit famous because of a certain plot twist during the game, but I don't want to spoil the game for you. A great story. The battle system, man, is amazing, and the graphics look absolutely gorgeous. I'm not usually the type of guy who enjoy games based on cards, like the use of cards and summoning, but these cards are mostly used as the menus, the regular menus in a turn-based RPG. It's just there's a small time limit and you gotta pick them all to react quickly to what the enemy is about to do or what you are about to do against the enemy. So it's a pretty engaging battle system and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was superb. And like I said, the story, the graphics, the music, completely amazing. I wish more RPGs, modern RPGs nowadays, had these types of really interesting, well-written plots and dark stories, dark twists every now and then. There are some of them out there, don't take me wrong, but I'm just saying there should be more in my opinion. I'm gonna give this game an S. Origins, however, tried to do things a little bit different. There's only 3 party members the entire game, you're stuck with them, so if you don't like them, you're not gonna like the game or all the story. I did like them, I guess I got into the 2 main characters. The girl was kind of cliche, but it's okay. The point is that this game still has a really dark story with some twists here and there that spice things up. My problem with this game was the balance of the game. It's such a hard game. The original game was very hard too, but manageable. And this one has that infamous boss battle that completely ruined the experience for me. Like, I still can't forgive that bird nowadays. But okay, I don't want to keep steering the pot on that, so... The thing that changed that I mentioned at the beginning was the battle mechanics. You still rely on the use of cards, but the timer is faster, so it's more stressful for you as a player. You gotta choose cards over and over and over again. It wasn't, let's just say the strategic value of it was more engaging in the original game, and here you're just stressed out by choosing whatever cards come in first randomly. Overall, it's still a great game, but I can't give it an A or an S, so I'm just gonna settle down for the B. Most specifically because of that stupid bird battle, let's move on. Custom Robo, a hidden gem of the system. Nobody knows about this game, or people who know about this game but haven't played it usually think it's just another, fighter arena type of game. It's not, it's an action RPG. Sure, It's still an arena game because you face off against your opponents in these cool looking arenas, and the action is fast paced, the controls, you guys know me, I'm not the biggest mech fan or mecha fan, and I still enjoy the heck out of this game because it's so much fun. But that's about it. That's everything positive I can say about the game. The rest is just okay. Like, the story is just kind of there. They wanted to turn Custom Robos an RPG. Okay, granted, but don't take me wrong. The battle mechanics here, the fighting against your enemies, the arena design, the fast-paced gameplay is just very cool. So Custom Robo, just because of that, I think it's a great game. So I'm gonna give it a B. Okay, you guys know I'm not a fan of Pokemon, and therefore I'm probably not a fan of Digimon. But I still included this game because I have something to say about it. I also ranked this one on the PlayStation 2 video, on the PlayStation 2 ranking video. I barely covered the game. Now I do have a lot to say because I was saving it for this video. Digimon World 4 is an action RPG, and it plays very different from the others. In the others, you are the trainer and you go around and train your Digimons and whatever, right? Here, you play as the Digimons, and you start playing with the little yellow dinosaur looking guy. I don't know his name, I'm sorry. But when I reached the action part, oh man, I was sorely disappointed. The controls are kind of bad, clunkiness at its worst. Your character doesn't even have any combos. You can only do that axe attack over and over and over again. I never got any far into this game, so I don't know if it gets better. I don't know if you get more weapons and more combos or something different, something that spices things up. It's not a bad game, but it's a C. It's just a game that I can't recommend, not even to Digimon fans. Evolution Worlds is like a collection of the 2 Evolution games on the Dreamcast. Very obscure, it's kind of like hidden gems. And it's a charming story about a kid who wants to be an explorer and explore the ruins and blah blah blah. Gets unusual party members, actually. That's what I found the most funny of this game. And I did play the originals a little bit, but I played the most of this version, and then I found out that it kind of butchered the second game, so everything could fit into one GameCube disc. I thought it was a bad idea, but I never really got that far into this game because it can be very, very repetitive. I mean, the game does have a lot of personality and a lot of cool ideas, but this battle system you're seeing right now is just an average turn-based battle system. There's nothing like that really makes it stand out above every other average turn-based RPG. I still think it's a great game, a hidden gem, and I do recommend it. Just don't expect too much from it. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. Listen, I think it's one of those games that if you play this game by yourself, which is exactly what I did the first 2 times, it's very boring. That's just my opinion. If you love the single player mode of this game, good for you, more power to you. I didn't enjoy it one bit. I thought it was convoluted, messy, hard to understand, but once I understood it, I was like, okay, I get the game, but I'm not having any fun. But when I played it with somebody else, if you're playing with somebody else, you're playing your campaign together, advancing through all these areas, beautifully looking areas and dungeons, and the monsters have to be inside of your area with your lamp or whatever to fight. It's a bit of an action RPG, but there's some strategy involved. Still, it's just not my type of game, man. And I don't think it's that good. Multiplayer is fun, but maybe to some extent. But single player, nope. So I'm gonna give it a C. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, it's a masterpiece. I love it. It's my favorite Fire Emblem of all time. I don't need to talk about it. You guys know this game very well. Maybe not all of you because it's quite expensive to get nowadays, but it's a Fire Emblem game. Fantastic. My favorite. Masterpiece. S tier. We got Lost Kingdoms 1 and 2 now. I've covered Lost Kingdoms a bunch of times in this channel. It's one of those games that don't focus a lot on the story. I think the story is still good, decent, but I wish that it could have had more story, more character development of Princess Katia, which is the main character trying to save her kingdom from a horrible curse or disease or whatever. So she acquires this ability to summon monsters through cards. It's another card-based game that I did like, as a matter of fact. And once you go into battle, you can summon these monsters. Katia can fight, but she's useful, but not that useful. It's always better to rely on your summons. Some are stationary and do buffs or debuffs, and some can cast magic. some can attack directly your enemy, some are broken, and there's a lot of them. There's like 100 cards in there with different monsters. But anyway, I do strongly recommend this game. It's like the perfect definition of a hidden gem, and you're not gonna believe who developed this game. From Software. I'm not kidding. It's very good, it's great, it's not as great, I think Baten Kaitos Origins is still better, but overall this one is like right behind it. Another B, in my opinion. The sequel, however, I don't think it has anything to do with the original game. Different story, different characters, different princess this time. Oh man, the story is like, they tried to put more story into it. More development, more character development, some romance here and there, and it was cringy, it was bad. This is not a good story, and therefore you could think, you know, it's one of those 10 JRPGs with bad story but great gameplay. Could have fit that criteria for that video, but the gameplay, it's just, it's not bad. It just pales in comparison to the first game. Now it's more like an action RPG, but the controls are kind of clunky. It's kind of hard to get used to. The summons really don't help you that much. I guess if you're more of a traditional action RPG with no encounters and all that jazz, this might be the game for you, but I'm telling you, it's not that good of a game. It has questionable interface, so I still think it's a hidden gem. I still recommend it, but compared to the first game, it's just not as good. But it's still an okay game, so I'm gonna give it a C. Medabots Infinity is the worst RPG on the GameCube, by far. Nothing, not a single game comes even close. This is bad. It's one of the worst RPGs of all time. Do I really need to explain the game? Look at this gameplay. Just look at it. Look at it. I'll give you a few seconds. Just look at this goddamn gameplay. It's bad. It's bad. It's if it was a slow motion action RPG that lags like crazy. It's extremely poorly designed. From what I remember playing, the game is a little bit like custom Robo. I mean, you got your robot and you need to have your robot fight other enemies in these arena types of areas. But as you're seeing right now, it's bad. Like, this makes the port of Tales of Phantasy on the Game Boy Advance look like a masterpiece. And it's such an important franchise. This franchise is very huge in Japan. It's a little bit popular here in the West, but it's huge in Japan. So how did they come up with this abomination of a game? It's terrible. It's terrible. And the story, well, why do you even bother with the story? It's generic. It's just your average, generic story. So you would at least expect the gameplay to be good, like in Custom Robo, right? It's an E or an F. I was gonna say Mega Man Battle Network, but no, Mega Man Network Transmission. It's part of the Battle Network games series on the Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS, but this one is a little bit different. Remember those games were like more like action, strategy, turn-based, like a mixture of everything during battle. There were encounters, and you got into these grid-based battles. Here is different. It's more like an action RPG with platforming elements, and I gotta be honest, it's fun. But overall, the more you advance, the more you're like... It's just, these games, the Battle Network series has a lot of personality, but they always have like the same ingredients, repetitive ingredients thrown into them, and this one is no exception. I think it's a game that die-hard Mega Man fans are not going to enjoy, but RPG fans who are into cheesy stories, cheesy cool kid stories and cool stuff and modern science fiction, whatever plots for kids, I think it's a good game, so I'm gonna give it a Z. Mega Man X Command Mission, however, I think I ranked this game on the PlayStation 2 video on the C. However, it's one of those games that it's between C and B. It's a C+. This is a true role-playing game, a turn-based traditional RPG where you go from one area to the other, there's a base, you talk to your party members, you get to watch certain scenes, the plot thickens, it moves on, you get to a new mission, you get to dungeon crawl certain areas until you reach the point where you gotta fight the boss and so on. So it's a very traditional turn-based RPG based on Mega Man. And it has characters from Mega Man X7. There's Axel in there, there's Rockman in there, and there's this new cast of characters. It's a fun game, sometimes I can't decide if it's a C or a B. Just for the sake of this video being different from the ranking on the PlayStation 2 video, I'm gonna give it a B. I still think it's a solid game. You should check it out if you like Mega Man and if you like turn-based RPGs. This is a very good recommendation. Now, Paper Mario, I don't need to cover this game. It's quite famous, probably among the most popular RPGs on the GameCube. A fantastic game. I dug the battle system, I dug the story. It's fun, it's Mario, but it's not Super Mario RPG. It's a B. Moving on to Phantasy Star Online Episodes 1 and 2. Both of them come together in this GameCube game. So, you know Sega and the Dreamcast, right? How it died after 2 years of its release and how it moved on to other consoles. It became a publisher, it became a developer, and that's it, no more consoles for them. So most of their games were ported to the GameCube or the Xbox, or the PlayStation 2 for that matter. This is one of those cases, like some of them we've seen so far, the same case with Evolution Worlds, and we got Skies of Arcadia coming up. We're talking about a time where Sega wanted to port everything on the Dreamcast to the modern systems, but failed. It only got lucky with a few titles, and this is one of them. Phantasy Star Online, where it's a very popular title, I'm not a fan of these battle mechanics. I think they're clunky, slow, very technical. I just didn't have fun with these ideas. There is an offline, both single and multiplayer mode. You can play this with a friend, offline, local co-op, and you can also play this by yourself. Which means there's a story mode, a full story mode. Don't just think it's gonna be a 5-hour story mode. It's a full action RPG, both episodes as a matter of fact. And like I said before, I just couldn't get into it, probably because I played Phantasy Star Universe first, and I thought that was a better game. Some people always say Universe is worse than online. It's always the competition, but Sega produced both games, both series, for a reason, you know, because they kind of wanted to please everybody. Oh, you don't like online? Here's Universe for you. You don't like Universe? Play the online games. Anyway, I'm gonna give these games a C, just because they're great, just because I couldn't get into them. This is my ranking, not yours. Remember that. They might be masterpieces to you. Do your ranking and put them on the S if you want. And then came along the third game, Episode 3, which was still online, still with an offline multiplayer mode or single player mode, but was extremely different. I mean, you're seeing this right now. What the hell is this? It's like a grid-based tactical RPG, but at the same time it's not. It's just turn-based, but it's very hard to get into. Half of the time, every time I go back to this game and play it, I have no idea what I'm doing. And of course, there's a tutorial. You go around taking quests, taking missions. Everything's the same as in every Phantasy Star game from the online series, but the only difference is this battle mechanics. Huge difference, as you can clearly see right now. Very hard to get into. This game, I do recommend it, but only if you're into convoluted gameplay mechanics and if you like what you see right now. I did enjoy it to some extent. I still think it's a little bit... I call this a hidden gem, but now I regret it. But it's not bad. It's a C. But you know, between this and the online games, I will rather play the online games, not this one. Finally, Skies of Arcadia Legends. This is a port of the Dreamcast game, and they fixed some things. They improved the interface, the graphics, and whatever. But they fixed some things, like the encounter rate was really high in the Dreamcast version. It's less high here. It's still very high, but not as high as in the Dreamcast version. I think there's more, a little bit more story, better controls, rebalanced difficulty, and all that jazz. Overall, it's the definitive version of the game to play. But I personally wasn't the biggest die-hard fan of it, so I'm gonna give it a B. Tales of Symphonia, make no mistake. It's pretty clear to me this was the first Tales game a lot of people played outside of Japan, so I can't blame them for loving it, but I'm just not the greatest Symphonia fan. I'm gonna give it a B. I think it's a great game. Virtua Quest is a mediocre game. They tried to do an action RPG based off the Virtua Fighter series, and it's just very forgettable. It's got some neat ideas. You're basically this kid going around certain areas, specifically in the street, and fighting enemies and all that jazz. I don't even remember the plot. I don't even remember what this game is about. It's just so forgettable. Why make a Virtua Fighter spin-off as an action RPG with mediocre controls, mediocre interface? I mean, it's not a bad game, but why play this game? Why does it even exist? It's a D. And last but not least, Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm the same as with Pokemon or Digimon. I'm not into this. It's not bad. It's just another Yu-Gi-Oh! Game that maybe only die-hard fans of Yu-Gi-Oh! And strategy RPGs will enjoy. If you're not that, if that description doesn't include you, forget about this game. It's a D. And this is it. Well, it looks like it has more great games than mediocre and bad ones. 2 masterpieces, no one in the A tier, and maybe Tales of Symphonia could have been there, Skies of Arcadia, Paper Mario, and even Baten Kaitos Origins, perhaps Lost Kingdoms. But I don't see these games as excellent, and that's my definition of the A tier. But that's just my opinion. That's all for today, people. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!